sane. Trying to take a balanced view of human behavior is fraught with problems. Which assumptions of normalcy should one hold in considering a global society? Is it possible for the whole world to be insane? Here I claim that not only is it possible, but to a large extent, human behavior must already be designated to be showing signs of insanity. Insanity is people's inability to distinguish fantasy from reality, to tell right from wrong, their failure to understand the true effects of their actions. Here, focus will be put on people who behave like the South Korean chaebol corporation Samsung. Samsung is a corporation and government of South Korea. That's due to the fact that it was funded and given special treatment by the South Korean government after the Korean War to help rebuild the economy, hence chaebol. I specifically chose Samsung because South Korea is the most Western Asian country and because post-World War I, West is where most of their insanity originated. So it's safe to assume that it's insane.
So I am so old, I have so many gray hairs that I actually remember when Samsung used to brag about the fact that they had liquid resistance while maintaining a user-removable battery, a micro SD card slot.
They care about things like listening to their customers. They want to make sure that their customers have all the features that they value. If Samsung makes advertisements bashing their competitors for removing features and functionality for no good reason while simultaneously hiking the prices of their products, they're not going to do the same thing, because they value things like removable batteries, SD card slots, liquid resistance, and headphone jacks. LOL. Just kidding. This is one of the reasons why it's really important to not be a fanboy. So if you take a look over here, you'll see it's a video titled Samsung, Please Leave Apple Bashing to Certified Professionals. What I was talking about in that video were the advertisements that Samsung made against Apple, and I found it pretty interesting that they were bashing Apple for this for a couple of reasons that I point out in this video. A, replacing the battery in a Samsung phone is actually more difficult than replacing the battery in an iPhone. B, when it comes to how easy it is to get a battery replacement, there are more Apple stores than there are Samsung stores that will replace your battery. And most importantly, if you try to buy a battery off of Samsung's own parts website, it's often out of stock, unavailable. You can't see pictures of any of the products. I don't think it does a company any good when you defend the things that they do that are dumb. And you may be a fan of the Note. You may think it's the greatest phone ever. You may not even care about a headphone jack. But for the sheer consistency in ideology or design philosophy, if you're going to spend 2 to 3 years making fun of your competition for doing X, and you're going to advertise that and you're going to push that, maybe you shouldn't be doing X yourself if you don't have a great explanation for it.
Which of these is a Samsung person? Wrong. That's me. The main difference between these two pictures is clearly the art style. I'm shown with more abstraction compared to the humanoid being, a Samsung. Yet this Samsung feels less human. Well, how can that be? Well, Samsung is drawn in a typical corporate art style, while the drawing of me is a visualization of my soul, not physical looks. A Samsung doesn't have a soul. You may say it's because it doesn't have a face. Neither does the depiction of me. Take this image. You can see a face. Well, is this a Samsung? It is. Overly long arms and legs, with flat textures and unnatural body color are indications of a corporate art style. Do you feel the lifelessness in it? Well, this is Western clip art. Here is a male depicted in Japanese clip art. Why does it look alike? For the reason that it has what a Samsung doesn't: detail, uneven textures, depth, and most importantly, care put into it.
Besides the investment in plants, roads, harbors, the investments in human capital played a decisive role in Korea's industrialization. Skilled workers were the bedrock of Korea's industrialization. Vocational high schools were developed to feed Korea's industrialization with a skilled workforce able to work with precision and complex machinery. Students' tuitions, books, room, and board were all paid for by the government. Only the best and the brightest were trained at the schools.
Reinforcement of the value of education, traditionally, but added to that, as development began, jobs were created, and those who were able to advance in education were rewarded with good jobs.
Korea's rapid industrialization is testament to the importance put on building a skilled and competitive workforce and the dedication and hard work of the young men and women of that generation, the flag bearers of Korea's modernization.
어깨에다가 조국 근대화의 기수라는 그 견장을 붙여줬어요. 그 기술을 배우는 학생들이나 공업고등학교나 그 직업훈련원 이런 데 다니는 학생들한테. 그러니까 이 사람들은 그 아무것도 아닌 자그마한 그 태그 하나지만 조국 근대화의 기수가 된다는 자부심에 굉장히 노력을 많이 했죠.
Government support was also provided to talented and motivated researchers. KIST contributed greatly to the advancement of technology and scientific knowledge in Korea. KIST, under the strong leadership of the government, upgraded the level of technology in Korea. Korea's young, talented, and skilled and knowledge-driven workforce were the engines of Korea's industrialization.
경제적으로 보다 많은 성과를 내는 경제 주체를 더 많이 지원하고 그런 경제 주체가 더 잘 되도록 소위 격려하는 것이 시장의 역할입니다. 바로 시장은 이와 같이 잘하는 경제 주체를 앞장서고 더 지원함으로써 이걸 통해서 동기부여를 하고 이걸 통해서 경제 발전을 일으키는 것입니다.
The policy of rewarding performance based on differentiated government support was critical in growing exports and in driving industrialization. The policy of rewarding performance was introduced in the 1970s with the establishment of the General Trading Company. The idea was to focus policy support on a few select companies that perform well by growing exports rather than any one product. The trading companies helped to market and export a wide range of goods produced by Korean companies. Companies put everything they had into growing exports. It started with simple process-oriented and labor-intensive industries, and then it expanded to more value-added technology-driven heavy and chemical industries. This fostered a competitive environment where companies could apply their trade, innovate, and enter new markets. Soon, companies were producing a diverse range of goods and exporting them all over the world. Competition at home and abroad promoted a competitive and entrepreneurial spirit.
기업을 이렇게 해서 잘 살게 하는데 우리가 역할을 해야 된다는 사명감이 있어. 또 할 수 있다는 자신감이 있다. 또 이거는 어떠한 어려움이 있어도 해내고야 말겠다는 어떤 도전 정신이 있다. 그 다음에 네 번째가 중요해요. 같이 잘 살아야 되겠다. 모든 그 기업의 구성원들이 다 잘 살도록 해야 되겠다.
Companies that achieved high export figures were recognized on Export Day, which was designated to celebrate Korea's achievement of $100 million in exports. The export performance of companies was ranked and announced, and companies and businessmen with good results were given awards.
그때 1억 불, 2억 불, 3억 불, 4억 불 이제 수출탑을 우리가 받았는데 그 받아왔을 때마다 잔치를 한 번씩 하고 그리고 우리가 어깨가 쭉 피했지. 왜냐하면 애국자거든. 그때 수출을 많이 하는 게 애국자고 많은 사람들이 부러워했다고. 그리고 나라를 위해서 우리가 훌륭한 일을 한다. 그런 자부심이 생겼다.
Export performance became a great standard to determine the success of business and businessmen.
열심히 노력하는 경제 주체가 항상 국가나 사회로부터 대접을 받고 경제계로부터도 대접을 받음으로써 더 열심히 하게 되고 동시에 대접받지 못하는 그런 경제 주체들은 더 분발해서 열심히 하게 만드는 그런 동기부여 기능이 한국 경제정책의 핵심 전략이었다고 생각합니다.
It was no coincidence that the companies that were recognized for their exceptional performance grew to become global leaders in 20 to 30 years. Samsung, which started as a small noodle shop, has become one of the biggest global companies in the world. Hyundai, which started as a small rice store, has become a leader in various industries. Daewoo, which started with just 5 million won worth of capital, has become a leader in Korea. LG, which started as a small toothpaste manufacturing factory, has grown to become a global company with 50 affiliates. SK, which started as a small suit lining manufacturer, has become a global company with 120 trillion won worth of annual sales. A right mix of policies, a budding entrepreneurial spirit, and competition helped to make Korea an industrial powerhouse.
As Samsung is usually created through indoctrination and propagation of ideologies through the education system. Youth is the future, and the South Korean government understands that well. That's why it inculcated an ideology of hard work with long hours and homesick. That's having a few drinks with your boss. Like meat kept in the pan for too long, the heat that is far too strong becomes overcooked. So did the corporation of Samsung's propaganda machine overcook the folk of South Korea. Corporation is the god that all must worship. Family is your boss and co-workers. Cutthroat ideology of Samsung has made Samsung sympathetic to anything that is not work. They are the job. They are the corporation. Take that away from them and they'll die. Don't, and they'll sell the family to the corporation. Women and males are all equal. They both will work and they'll both be forever childless. Who has time and money taking care of children when work has to be done? As of 2022, the average woman gave birth to average 0.78 children. The economy of South Korea was rebuilt, but in doing so, it killed the nation. Simply put, Samsungs are people who live their entire lives pretending to be something that they're not. Thus, other Samsungs care about them as much as they care about themselves. These Samsungs form many weak connections with those around them to fill in their lonely and shallow lives. Conversely, they become even lonelier. To comply with the system is to feel meaningful and gain material benefit, but the only gain is fear and wander minds. One of the ways to stop this mass psychosis is first to care and understand the subject. But having watched a single video about this topic doesn't mean you understand it. A good resource is a declassified CIA document, Psychological Operations in Guerrilla Warfare. Its practices were proven by decades of experience onto how to start a peasants' uprising. Newtonian physics states that all actions have equal and opposite reactions. Thus, it's logical to assume that you could use this document to counter the destruction of the mankind soul. The sources to the least edited version of the manual and the transcript of the video can be found in the description.
かなで、普通の定義とは何だ？前々から思っていたが、お前は普通という言葉を実によく使うな。それを心情に生きているようにすら見える。
普通のことをしましょう。たまには普通の女子っぽいことをするべきですよ。普通でいるのが一番いいです。
お前の言う普通とは何だ？他とは全人類か？日本社会か？何%に共通する性質だ？普通に執着して生きるとは、確たる意志も規定も持たず、ただ周囲の普通集合に同期し、それに盲従し続けることか。お前自身は何もない空集合。実にくだらん生き様だ。